This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours. Curated by Lizzie Jennings and Emmanuel Desta, and read by an automated voice. Published August 26, 2026, on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Here's today's news. Iran war. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has told several of his foreign counterparts in recent days that, for the time being, the United States is not expected to launch new strikes against Iran. According to a U.S. official, the focus is on other forms of pressure, including economic sanctions. However, Rubio made clear that the United States will not rule out retaliatory strikes if Iran attacks first. Barack Ravid reports for Axios. President Trump yesterday said that the U.S. Navy has cleared all mines from the main shipping lane of the Strait of Hormuz. He also warned Iran that any ship or boat placing new mines will be immediately and systematically destroyed. Two U.S. officials with direct knowledge of the matter confirmed Trump's announcement. Barack Ravid reports for Axios. In a joint statement, Iran and Oman yesterday said they discussed a joint temporary navigational corridor through the Strait of Hormuz and agreed to clear it of mines. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi told State TV that the two countries had reached an understanding on a temporary route. Yama Ihab reports for Reuters. AP News reports. China's foreign ministry spokesman Lin Jian yesterday said the country is firmly opposed to the illegal unilateral sanctions against Iran and would take all necessary measures to safeguard its rights. Lin also said that cooperation between the United States and China has always been conducted within the framework of international law and should not be interfered with or disrupted. Iran war. Other developments. The U.S. Secret Service yesterday confirmed it is aware that Iranian state media aired a video that appears to threaten the life of Trump's son Barron. The broadcast segment began with an English graphic that read, "Where to kill Barron Trump," labeled Barron as a target, and alleged that a $10 million bounty had been offered for his killing. AP News reports. Jalen Beckford reports for Politico. Reuters reports. The United States will begin to send personnel back to some diplomatic missions in the Middle East, sources have told Reuters. Posts in Lebanon, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq will see staff return, while family members will also be allowed to return to the U.S. post in Riyadh. One of the sources claims that some staff are expected to return as early as this week. The return of staff comes in the wake of decreased military actions across the region. Humaira Pamuk reports. Israel-Hamas war. Parents in Gaza on Monday were warned to stop their children from flying kites in the area for fear of a forceful response from the Israeli military. The announcement by the Popular Committees was coordinated with Hamas authorities, according to a Hamas source. Nidal al-Maghrabi reports for Reuters. Israeli strikes yesterday killed at least 7 people across Gaza, according to a source at Al-Shifa Hospital. Al Jazeera reports. West Bank violence. Far-right Israeli lawmaker Zvi Sukkot yesterday smashed a Palestinian monument in the village of Madama, in the occupied West Bank, while escorted by Israeli soldiers. The New York Times verified the footage, which showed the lawmakers strike the monument with a sledgehammer, whilst at least 2 soldiers stood nearby. In a statement, the Israeli military said that while Sukkot was on a tour of Palestinian communities, he had acted deceptively and manipulatively, without authorization, departing entirely from the approved framework. Adam Razgan reports. Russia-Ukraine war. CIA Director John Ratcliffe yesterday made a secret diplomatic trip to Moscow. Data from the online flight tracking service Flight Radar 24 showed that Ratcliffe was on the ground for around 8 hours. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry S. Peskov told reporters that he had no information about the plane. and that there were no plans for meetings with representatives of Trump's administration. The CIA has declined to comment. Julian E. Barnes and Paul Sani report for the New York Times. In an interview with Reuters, ousted Ukrainian Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov said Ukraine appears to be slowly losing the war against Russia. He claims Ukraine lacks overall vision for how to win the war and has been hobbled by its failure to innovate. Max Hunter reports. The governor of Russia's Tambov region said today that a Ukrainian drone attack caused a fire that destroyed a warehouse run by Russian e-commerce giant Wildberries. 2 people were wounded in the overnight strike. In separate strikes on the Lipetsk region, a man and a teenager were killed in a fire lit by a falling drone, while a woman was killed in a drone attack in Belgorod region, according to local authorities. The Russian Defense Ministry yesterday claimed that its forces struck 5 vessels at Ukraine's Black Sea ports. Vessels as well as port infrastructure at the ports of Pivdennyi and Odessa were struck, and fuel storage facilities at the port of Chornomorsk were also hit. A Russian drone strike yesterday damaged the Vinohradovka border crossing between Ukraine and Moldova, according to Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha. Sybiha called on the international community to condemn Russia's systematic targeting of civilian transport corridors and critical border infrastructure. Jonas Hines reports for the Kyiv Independent. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday issued a decree that granted his government powers to temporarily manage critical infrastructure facilities if their owners cannot protect them against security threats. The decree gives Russia's Federal Agency for State Property powers to seize industrial sites at risk and operate seized businesses as the owner. Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov yesterday clarified that the decree is not talking about nationalization. Daria Zakharova reports for Politico. Sudanese civil war. Sudan Doctors Network yesterday accused the Sudan People's Liberation Movement of killing 27 people. 4 children were among those killed in the southern Sudan regions of Khartoum and Abu Hamama. The network stressed that targeting civilians on ethnic grounds constitutes an explicit violation of international humanitarian law. Noha El-Henawi reports for AP News. Other global developments. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu yesterday ordered the military and other security agencies to launch an immediate rescue operation after 600 people were abducted during an attack on a mosque in north-central Niger State last week. An official from Borgu district, where the attack happened, said 30 people had been killed during the attacks and were buried on Sunday. McDonald Zarutwe and Ben Ezamalu report for Reuters. The former commander of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, Mazloum Abdi, yesterday announced the official dissolution of the group, which has merged with the Syrian army. Abdi said that now that the country has entered a new phase of peace, it was the end of the SDF's mission. Gaith Al-Sayed and Abi Sewell report for AP News. The UN and the International Committee of the Red Cross yesterday made a joint call for countries to adopt bans and restrictions on the use of autonomous weapon systems, warning that the risks have intensified. Jamie Keaton reports for AP News. U.S. Foreign Affairs. Trump yesterday threatened to rename Lake Ontario to Lake America as escalations continue between the United States and Canada. Canada announced retaliatory tariffs affecting a number of goods. These new levies would go into effect on September 8th. Analysts noted that the tariffs targeted goods made in states with hotly contested congressional elections. Canadian Industry Minister Melanie Joly said that Canada was being wise and strategic. Karoum Demirjian reports for the New York Times. Paul Vieira reports for the Wall Street Journal. U.S., Caribbean, and Pacific operations. The U.S. military yesterday said 4 people were killed in a strike on a vessel in the Caribbean. According to U.S. Southern Command, confirmed intelligence revealed the vessel's active involvement in narco-trafficking. The operation killed 4 narco-terrorists. Kanishka Singh reports for Reuters. U.S. immigration developments. The Trump administration has issued a pause on immigrant visa appointments for applicants around the world, a State Department spokesperson said yesterday. The spokesperson added that the department launched a global visa training initiative at all U.S. embassies and consulates earlier this month, and that appointments for visa services had to be adjusted to accommodate the training. The father of a U.S. sailor on board the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, who was taken into custody by Border Patrol agents over the weekend, was released yesterday, his family said. Kanishka Singh and Steve Gorman report for Reuters. Hundreds of federal immigration officers responsible for screening immigration applications for false information and possible security threats are being reassigned to search for potential non-citizen voter registration, 3 former officials told The Washington Post. Ted Hessen reports. U.S. domestic developments. A federal appeals court yesterday ruled that political parties cannot receive the discounted TV advertising rates available to candidates. Republicans are expected to appeal. Andrew Howard and Jessica Pieper report for Politico. A federal judge yesterday blocked Ohio from requiring proof of citizenship when registering to vote at Bureau of Motor Vehicles offices, finding that the requirement conflicts with the National Voter Registration Act. Ashley On reports for Politico. A federal judge yesterday struck down a 2023 Texas state law that sought to restrict drag shows, ruling it improperly restricted speech and violated the First Amendment. Raquel Coronel Uribe reports for NBC News. A federal judge yesterday dismissed Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell's petition to vacate her conviction and sentence, calling it demonstrably meritless and generally based on speculation, distortions, and/or outright falsehoods. Ashley On reports for Politico. Elon Musk will not face criminal charges for alleged election bribery in Wisconsin's 2025 Supreme Court election, La Crosse County District Attorney Tom Gruenke announced yesterday. La Crosse said he does not believe he could convince a jury that Musk committed a crime in his 2025 social media posts, in which he offered to personally hand over 2 checks for $1 million to voters. Jalen Beckford reports for Politico. The Louisiana National Guard will end its 8-month deployment patrolling the streets of New Orleans on August 31st, Lieutenant Colonel Noel Collins said yesterday. Jack Brooke reports for AP News. 2 unvaccinated people in Pennsylvania have died after contracting measles, health officials said yesterday, the first such deaths recorded this year. Mariam E. Sunny and Sidi Mahatale report for Reuters. Trump administration actions. Trump, on Monday, submitted his 30-year nuclear accord with Saudi Arabia to Congress for review. The accord would give U.S. companies a central role in developing Saudi Arabia's nuclear infrastructure, while excluding foreign competition. However, the deal could also open the door for uranium enrichment, and requires that Saudi Arabia normalize relations with Israel by joining the Abraham Accords. Michael R. Gordon and Robbie Gramer report for The Wall Street Journal. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth dismantled much of the U.S. military's civilian harm mitigation and response mission, despite near-unanimous top-level military support for the program, according to a 2025 poll. The only exception was the Department of the Army, headed by a civilian appointee, which agreed with getting rid of CHMR entirely. It appears that recent pressure from Congress and within the military has led the Defense Department to change its position. In April, Elbridge Colby, the Defense Department's Undersecretary for Policy, sent a memo about the civilian enterprise to Hegseth, proposing a reboot of the program. The same commanders Hegseth polled earlier endorsed the move. Several defense officials told ProPublica. Megan Rose and Hannah Allam report. Ticket sales and fundraising collapsed after Trump's name was added to the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. according to confidential documents obtained by the Washington Post. The documents show that the center's leaders were aware of the deteriorating financial situation, even as they publicly portrayed Trump's takeover as a financial rescue. Jonathan Edwards reports for the Washington Post. Trump administration litigation. A federal judge yesterday declined to block a final rule that the U.S. Postal Service adopted that would tighten requirements for mail-in voting, even as she concluded that the agency had violated a court order by issuing it. She said that given that USPS acknowledges it cannot implement its rule while her injunction remains in place, she would not order it blocked at this time. In case you missed it, yesterday on Just Security. Thank you for listening to Just Security's early edition today, August 26, 2026. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org, subscribe to Just Security on Substack, and follow us on X, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.